us really remembers as much about it because I was married to someone else at the time, and were you at the time?
No.
Okay, but you know.
But I wasn't looking. But I wasn't looking at married men.
Yeah.
It was like it was. So the woman that introduced John and I, she lived in the cottage. She and her husband, and so Glenn and Lori became friends with John and his wife who passed away. And they were at Glenn and Lori's like New Year's Eve party or something, and Lori's like, "Oh, these are Judy's landlords." I'm like, "Oh, hi." Okay.
Yeah.
I just moved on. You know, I didn't know them, and it was a big crowd. So I remember meeting Judy's landlords. Had no idea what they looked like.
Yeah.
Really.
She wasn't thinking, wow, that landlord's pretty hot.
No. So we met like probably like
Well,
8 years ago. 9
Anyway,
years
well,
ago.
you know, you all may know, my prior wife unfortunately passed away from brain cancer, and so I knew right away, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to live alone. I need someone in my life. I need a partner. I need a love. That's just the way I am. So I went on Silver Singles, and I started, meeting some people, and then
He was going to date 12 women before.
it was my thing. I said, don't glom onto the first one. Go out with at least 12 different women before you start, filtering it down. I figured that's a smart thing to do. I made it up to the grand total of 2 people.
But I have
Two
to,
women.
I have
then
to
you're
like,
like, I'm
sneak
done.
in there.
Yeah, well,
But I wasn't on Silver Singles.
no, but that was when I started going out with a woman I met on Silver Singles, and it was nice, but then Judy, who used to rent the cottage from me, said, well, you can forget about her because I know who you're going to marry. I'm like, really? And it was this one. Yeah. And so we arranged to meet. I brought pizza over to her, and she was living with her father at the time and taking care of him.
Well, my dad was living with me.
It was the first date I've ever had in my life.
My dad was living with me.
Translation.
It's the first date I've ever had in my life where I spent the entire date with the girl and her father.
Well, it was. My dad, to be fair, he had dementia, and it was during COVID. So him coming over, it was kind of like, well, everybody was still freaking out about social distancing, and we had been talking for a while on the phone and such, but we had not met. But so it was like he's like, I'll bring pizza, and so we had dinner outside.
And it was nice. We went out a few times, and then I realized that I was falling in love with her. I mean, it was just like there was nothing I could do about it. It was just happened,
Oh, and I didn't know that he was dating somebody else.
Well, who else?
I had no
That's a
idea.
whole
I just
side
made
story.
it
Eventually, I
up.
cut that other one out. But eventually, I just had to tell her, like, you know what? I'm falling in love with you. So I told her that, and you know what she said to me? That's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what to say. I was like, I'd been burned a couple of times.
What's your name?
Yeah. Who are you? Well, eventually, I won her over, as you can see. So.
But I tell you, Susan was a tough cookie. I remember because I'm next door, and John's like, remember we're inviting you? Remember that?
Yeah.
John was starting to date at that time. Remember?
Right, yeah.
And she goes, Susan was tough, like, I'm not gonna date someone who's like gonna date other people. Well, I'm here with Angelique.
Yeah, I said, oh, I'm
No,
over
I don't think it didn't
Angelique's
happen
for
quite
dinner.
like that.
I
But
know, but
She
it
was
was
like,
like,
yeah,
I
he
know
said
he
to
wasn't
me-
because we were with a lot of people. It wasn't a date.
well,
but
no, but he, I think it was prior to that because I didn't know. I mean, but anyway, he said to me, he wanted to talk with me privately, and he said, I just need to tell you that I've been dating, somebody else. I was
Yeah.
on Silver Singles, and I went. And he said he didn't want to settle down with anybody and wanted to take his time. And I said, I totally understand that. He was married 28 years. So I totally understood that. Like, okay, I can
Deal with that.
accept that, and I understand it completely, but I'm out.
Oh,
yeah, that's good for you.
I mean, I totally understood his need to
Yeah,
not
yeah.
to not want to
yeah,
latch
that's
on
fine,
to
but I'm out.
somebody.
Okay, well, that's
But-
not going to work for me.
No, I mean, I wasn't mad at him. I
You
just I
understood.
didn't want to be one of a harem.
Yeah, she didn't want
Yeah.
one of John's
So
here.
no,
Well, I hate to break it to you. No, sorry.
Well, I just said, oh, I totally got it. I wasn't mad. I wasn't invested that. We were dating like a couple of weeks or something. And so then he said, no, he didn't say ask me to marry, but he said, if I break it off with her, would you continue? Are you interested in continuing? I said, well, yeah,
No, actually, what I said was, well,
He knows exactly what he said.
I
and it
remember
wasn't
because
that.
I said I will
knew
be
what game they would
exclusive
not
with
do
you
Yeah.
if you are going to be exclusive with me.
And I thought
Yeah.
we already were.
So I said,
Otherwise, you don't want to break
this
off.
is a two-way
I've never
street.
been.
You know, I mean, if I
Okay,
can't go
I'll
out
be
with
in the
others, you
middle of
can't go
that,
out
'cause
with
I
a
was
guy.
in between. Oh,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
smart.
That makes sense.
So anyway, he and I were talking on a regular basis, and so I called him, and he was short with me, and he goes, "I'm at Angelique's," and I'm like,
No, but I think it
"Oh,
was
okay,"
funny.
or something, and I'm like, "Okay." I don't know how that whole went,
I
but I
just-
didn't know, But you were a little short with me, and I think maybe because you had a crowd of people. But anyway, there was Anyway, you don't remember that.
Well, I remember, telling you I'm having dinner at Angelique's and you like getting all weird about it.
I
Was it?
remember.
I just said, "Oh, okay," I didn't know. But anyway,
But
Well,
he
here's-
did- for you, a compliment, Susan. John said, "I'm liking this girl, Susan. I don't know what to do." Right? He said, "Well, you follow your heart," and he did. So he found you. Okay?
He
So
had
that was
Angelique's food.
Well, remember the time when I was out on a date with the other woman?
I
and
know. Because
and
I
you
was like
texted
John's
me.
neighbor.
I didn't
okay?
know.
So
Again,
he
Susan
he
doesn't
says,
wanna
"Do you
hear this
remember the
probably.
time?"
No.
He says, "Do you remember a time when I was out on a
Can
date
we
with another woman?" Well,
move
again,
on?
I didn't know.
But anyway, all of a sudden I get a text from Susan that says, "Do you like playing games?" And I texted back like, "Oh, sure. What kind of games do you like to play?" And then I hear nothing. It's radio silence for like hours. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Somehow she realizes I'm out on a date with someone else. I have no idea. She figured it out.
Is that really?
Yeah.
No, I had no
He
idea.
had no
I really
idea.
meant, "Do you like games?"
He's
Then I was
Oh
busy.
my God,
so
that was just so great because
So he's all paranoid.
Yeah, I'm like,
guilt-
"Oh my
you got
God!"
guilt
I'm gonna have to go home and do damage control.